Okay, so this is the Deathstar Advanced Guide. I made this video mainly for people that can Deathstar with like less rockets, like maybe 3 or 4 at max, and then it's also for people who want more out of their Deathstar in general, just want it to do more damage, which you're big and greedy because it already does a lot of damage, but that is what you're here for. So the first thing we're going to go over is dashing during the Deathstar. When you set up your Deathstar, and we're going to put on no cooldown, sometimes you'll notice that it just blows up. And this is something that you can kind of get a feel for when it's going to happen. But if you are not prepared and it blows up, it can deal damage to you and kind of mess you up. So what you want to do is start dashing at the right time during the Deathstar, which will pretty much guarantee that you don't take any damage. So pretty much what I do is I like to dash after like the first or second rocket is hit. So like pretty much if there's a Deathstar with 4 rockets, I'll usually dash on rocket 2, just to ensure that I don't like blow up and take 35 damage. So to be able to do that, once again, jump, Deathstar setup, and then dash in between the hits. Now that might not seem very useful at first, but now we're going to move on to Nukestar, which is my tech, and that is very important that you know how to dash. So pretty much what you're going to need to do is do a Deathstar just like normal, but then as you're sending it, what you're going to do is you're going to hit core in the middle, in the same place that you would have dashed before. So, and you'll notice I got absolutely sent flying. That's because when you hit a rocket into a core, it creates a nuke. So what happens there is one of these rockets that surrounds you runs into the core that you put out and turns it into a nuke. Now this is where it becomes important to dash during the Deathstar, because when you're nuking, you don't want to take free self-damage. So you kind of in the same way that if you were to nuke, normally you would dash during the hit stop of the nuke to not take damage. It's the same thing here. So you hit the rockets, send a core, and right after you send a core, you dash. And you don't take any damage. You can do it like 30 times. You will not take any damage. Okay, and then the final thing you're going to want to know is the oil Deathstar. And now this is one that I'm still learning and is a little bit inconsistent, but you can get it consistent enough to where you can do it every time. So pretty much, again, basic Deathstar, but we're also going to add the mechanic of oil upward into it. Because when you oil upward like this, you can see the oil comes back down into like a big square, and that so once that comes down, it will coat the stage in fire while you're also setting up your Deathstar like this. And so pretty much what you can do Oh, and then that's another reason that upward oil is good, because it just reignites the floor oil. Okay, so this part of the video is for people who are trying to add more and more and more rockets to the Death Star, but it keeps blowing up. So there are a couple things that you have to worry about when you're trying to make a Death Star not blow up. The first and biggest thing is that you have to make sure that one rocket doesn't get hammered into another rocket, because that will just start a chain reaction of sadness and destruction that will not be what you want. So pretty much what you're going to want to do is make sure that when you set up your Death Star, the first rocket is above you, and then you give each rocket ample space, like, so that there is no chance that they run into you. So you can do it with like 6. The max that I've ever been able to do in a cyber grind is 8. I don't know if you can do 9. But see, because they start to stack on top of each other, you start to get issues. So you have to be very particular about spreading them out, but also not ending up with like a sandwich of rockets, because that's what ends up giving you the self-explosion. And then the final tip that I want to give is when you are setting up a Death Star in Cybergrind, you have the advantage of the wave transition resetting your cooldowns. So when you start to Death Star, and see, I'm going to start setting it up, and I'm going to place down like 5, and I'm going to go to hammer it, but nothing, like they unfreeze because I run out of time. In that wave transition, you regain like freeze time, so you can be frozen for even more time and continue adding rockets. And that's why it's so strong as like a wave transition opener. It's because you can keep adding rockets, so you can get up to like the max amount that you can fit around yourself, and then you can also add a nuke to it, to just make it deal a disgusting amount of damage. But yeah, so that was the Advanced Death Star guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. I like Death Stars. I think Alt Core is the best weapon in the game, and I think I'm going to make a video on that next. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.